Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. If you're tuning in to this episode, there's a good chance that IVF has either been suggested to you, you're considering it, or maybe you've already been through IVF and it didn't go the way you expected. So I want to start here. Most IVF cycles don't fail randomly. They fail for very predictable reasons, not because your body is broken, not because you waited too long, but because the foundation was never built before the process started. Today, I'm going to walk through what is actually missed and what matters for outcomes, and what you can start doing right now to change your trajectory if you are going to use IVF as a tool. Because IVF is not a magic fix. It is a tool, and tools only work as well as the environment that they are used in. The biggest misconceptions about IVF include that IVF overrides your biology. That is a really big misconception. It doesn't. It bypasses certain steps like ovulation to fallopian tube function, but it doesn't actually fix or change egg quality. It can actually decrease egg quality. It does not fix sperm quality. It does not fix inflammation. It can actually increase inflammation. It does not fix the uterine environment. It can actually make it worse depending on what is uncovered or prepped for before starting the whole IVF protocol with hormones and medications. So if those things are off and you're going into IVF, they're still going to be off during IVF and potentially get even worse. And that is why so many cycles end in poor egg quality or low fertilization rates or poor embryo development, failed implantation, and early miscarriage. These are not random outcomes, okay? So they are actually reflections of the internal environment. Okay, so step one, what can you do to improve your overall outcomes of IVF? Very first thing we want to do or not do is rush. Do not rush into IVF. I know the pressure. Maybe it's your age, maybe it's your AMH level. We are told that, we're a ticking clock based on these markers. And you're pushed, you're told that you need to move quickly and that you don't want to waste time. But trust me, rushing into IVF without preparation is one of the fastest ways to waste time, money, and emotional energy. We can actually get you to healthy baby faster if you have the appropriate prep time. Okay. And it's going to reduce a lot of heartache and emotional turmoil throughout the process. So you need a prep phase, minimum of 3 to 4 months, ideally closer to 6 months whenever possible. And I know that can feel scary if you're also being told that you need to hurry, but this prep time can greatly reduce the number of cycles that you need to do to get to healthy baby, which is always going to be more beneficial. That is the window, that 3 to 4 month time period is a window that egg and sperm quality are going to be most significantly influenced in a positive way, depending on the inputs that you are providing. Okay. The maturation cycle is about 3 to 4 months for both follicle and sperm health. So proper IVF prep actually looks like this. And this is where most people are missing really big pieces because they're thrown into that conventional fertility pipeline. It doesn't include these pieces, which are so impactful for outcomes. Okay, you need a full evaluation of your internal environment, not just baseline hormones. Here is what to make sure that you are getting checked out. Your nutrient status. Your eggs and sperm require nutrients to develop properly. And your entire reproductive system is extremely energy intensive, which is really the foundation of creating energy in the body comes down to nutrients and nutrient status. So if you're not getting enough, the balance is off, it's going to impact egg health, sperm health, and overall reproductive environment, just how safe your body is feeling to support pregnancy. So you want to look at vitamin D and B12 and folate. You want to look at iron regulation as well as minerals. And ideally, we're using hair to look at minerals. I have separate whole episodes on minerals and why they're important, but those are the ingredients that all of our cells require to create energy. And they are so important for egg health, even in a natural cycle. But when we're thinking about IVF, we're going to be really forcing many follicles to mature at one time, really speeding up that maturation process, which requires even more energy and ingredients to make sure that they're good quality. Okay. If nutrient status is off, quality is going to be impacted. So, action step. Ask for labs. Do not guess. Do not rely on a prenatal alone because you're an individual and you need that individual look in order to know what you actually need to replenish. Blood sugar and insulin is another really important area to look into. So you know how to prep and prepare that reproductive environment in the best way possible. This one is typically overlooked in the way that we want to look at it. So even in women who are healthy, it's important to check in on what's happening with insulin. Unstable blood sugars actually increase inflammation and directly impact egg quality and implantation also. So what to do to look at this properly is to check fasting insulin, fasting glucose. Hemoglobin A1C is helpful, but with that fasting insulin and fasting glucose, we want to calculate what's called a HOMA-IR. There's calculations online. Some labs will actually do it for you to provide that data, but that actually tells you what's happening at the cellular level with how that insulin is signaling, which is a huge piece of energy creation also. Okay, so we want to support blood sugar management, insulin stability with balanced meals and making sure we're getting plenty of protein, fat, and fiber, eating consistently throughout the day. We don't want long fasting periods, eating consistently and making sure your meals are balanced are a couple of the most helpful ways that we can signal safety in the body. Anytime we're signaling safety, it's going to be more apt to be able to send resources and energy to reproduction, which is so important. Strength training and movement is also really, really impactful for how we're managing our insulin and blood sugar as well. Okay, next we want to make sure we're evaluating cholesterol regulation and overall lipid health. So cholesterol is a building block for your hormones. It's also very much involved in follicle health and development and lining health. When it's too low or dysregulated, so out of balance, maybe we have more inflammatory cholesterol versus anti-inflammatory cholesterol. Your hormone signaling suffers, as well as your egg quality and reproductive environment health suffers too. So what to do is to look at a full lipid panel, not just cholesterol, total cholesterol alone. We want to get that LDL, HDL, triglycerides all included in there too. And we want to make sure that we're looking at where our markers are at and adjusting our lifestyle and our nutrition accordingly. So you don't want to cut out saturated fat. That is a huge misconception. So you're getting support and guidance from somebody who understands cholesterol regulation. Typical, like standard ranges on labs are a little off for female fertility. No surprise. Most of those are based on men who, definitely don't represent a cycling female and her needs. So that total cholesterol level is not what I would focus on the most. I'd focus on the balance between the LDL and HDL, ideally HDL being up over 70, LDL being below 120 is a good range to think about, and triglycerides being below 150. That's really a helpful balance to support the equality outcomes for IVF and natural conception too. So we can support shifting that balance with adequate dietary Fat. Yes, fat, healthy fats. Omega-3 rich is really what we want to focus on more. Fatty fish can help with that. Also, adequate fiber is really important for bringing down more inflammatory type cholesterol, having regular daily bowel movements, because that is how it's eliminated. Also, inflammatory cholesterol is eliminated. And blood sugar balance also impacts what's happening with cholesterol in really big ways too. So if you're noticing fasting insulin is off, or you're having some insulin resistance signs and your triglycerides are elevated, they are very much related. Okay. So you're going to work on them in tandem. A note, just back up a step on fasting insulin. Ideally, we want to see that below 10 before you're stepping into a retrieval. It makes a big difference on egg quality and therefore embryo quality moving forward. All right, gut and immune health. Your gut is one of the biggest regulators of inflammation, immune system, hormone metabolism. If your gut is inflamed, your fertility will absolutely be affected. This is where I see missed issues like dysbiosis, SIBO, H. pylori, just barriers in how you're getting the nutrients out of your food. So you don't even have to have symptoms, GI symptoms or gut symptoms, tummy troubles in order to have some of these underlying barriers in your gut that are impacting fertility. So this is an area I really don't ignore this area. It might feel like too much, or you have to go out of your way to address it, but you are literally passing down your microbiome, those gut bugs and bacteria that are shaping your own gut health, to your future tiny human. They impact what's happening in your uterine environment. They impact your immune system. And they are literally the building blocks for what your baby is going to be inheriting. So doing this ahead of time makes a really big positive difference. Honestly, doing these steps for prep often gets the majority of my clients. It gives them the ability to step away from IVF altogether because they are seeing the shifts and getting that positive pregnancy test without needing IVF as a tool to do it. Okay. It doesn't happen for everybody, but it's definitely something worth entertaining. If you're going to do the prep, consider how that might be influencing how your body is supporting reproduction as a whole. And certainly if you do have gut symptoms like bloating, constipation, loose stools, reflux, skin issues are also related to gut issues. If you know you have autoimmune related conditions and have never looked into your microbiome, it's not random. Okay, this is data, and it absolutely matters for fertility. It matters for implantation. It matters for pregnancy outcomes. It's absolutely worth getting looked at and the appropriate support to be able to shift it for conception and fertility support as a whole. Vitamin D is another one. So you might think, well, we already talked about nutrients, and we did. Vitamin D is classified as a vitamin, but it actually functions more like a hormone in our body, and we can synthesize it from the sun. So it's a little bit different than just our standard nutrients that we're getting from food. We do get some vitamin D from food as well, but it has a big influence on egg quality and sperm quality. So it's not optional for fertility. We need this to be in optimal ranges, ideally above 50. Between that 50 and 80 range is a really good optimal range to have that vitamin D in. Don't settle for, oh, it's normal at 30. Very bottom of quote unquote normal. And that's not good enough for egg health, especially when you're going to be encouraging multiple follicles to be good quality at one time. Vitamin D directly impacts egg quality, embryo development, implantation, immune balance. And yet so many women are sitting in suboptimal ranges. This can make a big difference in egg health. Okay. Test your vitamin D. Optimal range for fertility is typically that 50 to 80 range, which is higher than our standard lab ranges. And you want to really be intentional about how you're repleting it. Okay. High quality supplementation can be really supportive, but vitamin D is going to function best when it also has other minerals supporting how it's used and functioning in the body. So that's where that mineral look, a deeper look at minerals, really helps too. And then, of course, sunlight is so important for how we are able to synthesize vitamin D from the sun. Too, getting sun in our eyes is just as important as getting sun on our skin for synthesizing vitamin D. Next, do not ignore sperm health. We have to talk about this. Sperm matters just as much as egg quality. They are literally 50% of the puzzle. Even when the semen analysis looks quote unquote normal or you're told it's fine, get the numbers because standard testing does not always include DNA fragmentation, oxidative stress markers, morphology in a actually meaningful way. If it is below 4%, that is a red flag for the quality of the sperm. And it matters even if you are doing IVF. Okay, we want to make sure that we're supporting the health and the function of the sperm appropriately for best outcomes. Poor sperm quality can lead to poor fertilization, poor embryo quality, and even impacts the health of the pregnancy. Okay, it can increase miscarriage risk, it can increase complications with the placenta, which is involved in gestational diabetes and preeclampsia. And it can also impact the lifelong health of your future tiny human. So sperm health is important, even though they're washing it and they're, supporting fertilization in a petri dish. That definitely weeds out some of the poor quality characteristics, but they cannot see fragmentation, DNA fragmentation of the sperm when they are working on fertilization. Okay. So it's important to look at so we're getting the best outcomes possible in the least amount of medications and cycles being used. So run deeper testing when possible. Get that DNA fragmentation looked at. Look at your full analysis, including that morphology marker, and make sure that sperm is being supported with antioxidants and nutrient repletion. Reducing toxin exposure and improving sleep and lifestyle habits are also going to be really helpful for sperm health. I have a whole mini course on sperm health that we will link in the show notes for even more details there. I also have a couple of podcast episodes, specifically one on DNA fragmentation and another one just on optimal sperm parameters that you're looking for. All right. So the uterine environment is everything. You can have beautiful embryo, but if the environment's not ready, it will not work. It will not implant, or it will not be sustained. If implantation is successful, there's a high chance of loss early in that pregnancy if the environment is not in a good place. So this is one of the biggest gaps I see. Embryos are transferred into environments that have not been fully evaluated. We need to be looking at inflammation, endometriosis, endometritis, microbiome imbalances, and even immune system activation. So in my opinion, this should be evaluated before IVF is even considered, especially in unexplained infertility cases, because unexplained usually just means under investigated. And if we're uncovering some of these things, there's a high chance that you don't even need IVF as a tool. You just need to treat that underlying environmental concern there. So please advocate for deeper testing, ask better questions. None of this is your fault. It's just the protocols that our conventional fertility world has laid out, unfortunately. But we have to advocate for ourselves. When we learn something new, we can ask better questions. And if your provider's not working with you, it might be time to find a new one or add to your support team, because we should not just be assuming that everything is fine because basic imaging was normal. And there's a reason that you haven't been able to get pregnant. If you don't know what that is yet, and you're not sure if IVF is going to be bypassing that barrier, it's important to learn more about your body, see how we can better support getting that healthy baby in your arms sooner than later. All of this matters more than most of us think. This is what I see over and over again. Couples go through this prep phase, they build the foundation, they support their bodies properly, and then they end up getting pregnant before IVF. Not every time, but most often. The clients that I'm working with that are coming to prep for IVF, a lot of them have gone through failed retrieval cycles or retrieved a lot of eggs and didn't get any embryos. Okay. That should be enough information for you to pause, because it shows you how many gaps there are in the conventional approach. And more importantly, it shows you what your body is capable of when it has the right support. When you have the right knowledge to be able to support it, fertility can really thrive. So if you are standing at the IVF decision point, I want you to hear this really clearly. You are not wasting time by prepping your body. You are improving your outcomes, whether you conceive naturally or you do move forward with IVF. This work matters. Your fertility is not fixed. It is very responsive. And when you learn how to work with your body instead of rushing past it, everything changes. So if you are ready to stop guessing and you want a clear, personalized plan before taking your next step, this is exactly the work that we do inside the Master Your Fertility program. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.